This week's podcast is on a specific topic, and it is for helping pushy, mouthy, or grabby horses. If you don't know what a grabby horse is, just keep listening.
Hello, welcome to Mark Langley's Horsemanship Podcast, a podcast helping people to understand their horses better, to provide solutions in a calm, connected way. I'm Jenny Langley.
And I'm Mark Langley.
So, pushy, mouthy, and grabby horses, Mark. That's what we're going to talk about today. These are horses that can sort of quite mouth focused, I suppose. They can be pushing in on you. Perhaps they might be a bit bitey. They might be a bit nippy, and they might grab the odd mouthful of hay. Grabby horses. The new term. So, first question for you is from Jeannie. She has a horse that doesn't matter what she does, tries his hardest to grab a mouthful of hay when they walk past the bales in the barn aisle, and so she's walking a completely different route just to avoid that hay. He isn't actually fed any of that hay, but grabbing the hay is something that he has been doing for years. Have you got any suggestions for her?
Teach your horse how to lead. A horse that knows how to lead knows the length of a rope. Imagine it like this. You see a lot of working dogs in Australia that they're chained up in the kennels at night time. So they have a chain. Some dogs are on runners and some aren't. Some are just on a length of chain. They've got their kennels, and if they run outside to see somebody, they run out barking as a car drives past. The dog that does a backflip hasn't yet learnt the end of the chain. So what I'm meaning is most dogs will run out to the end of the chain and not hit the end of the chain because they know the length of the chain. So a horse knows the length of the rein. It also knows the length of the rope. So if you're leading your horse somewhere, then he obviously doesn't know where the end of the rope is to know that the hay is available, okay? So you have to keep your rope at a length as you walk past the hay to show the horse that this length of rope, you will not be able to reach the hay. Now, that doesn't mean you've got to drag him by the jugular, because the length of the rope has a droop in it, so the horse is leading loose behind you, but it knows that the hay is unavailable. And if your horse knows how to follow a field and lead properly, then it will walk past the hay knowing the hay is not available. If it doesn't know how to lead, it doesn't know the length of the rope, it's going to snatch hay and it's going to pull your hand every time it does it. So it's not about teaching the horse not to grab hay, it's go and teach it how to lead and then come back and lead it past the hay. That's the answer to the question. So I really want everybody to think about that, same as the horses that snatch grass when they ride. The biggest problem people will come across is my horse snatches grass, or my horse does this, it does that, it snatches grass when I'm leading it, down the paddock. And obviously if the grass is up to its mouth, it's very hard to sort of stop it because it can just eat on the run. But when it has to go down somewhere and reach for something, then basically the length of lead determines if it's available or not. And if you work, like the other day I did this with a horse, and it's the same thing. I stood there with this horse and it was a snatchy horse, they snatch things all the time, grabby. So the first time it did it, I put a bump in the end of the rope, so it hit the bump, went, oh, and that's not available. And then I taught it to lead for a bit, and then I did it again, and then after a while I'd say to the horse, okay, I'm going to shorten the rope to this distance, and the horse went, yeah, no, the rope's not long enough for me to reach the ground, so I'm not going to bother. So it stopped thinking about the grass. It stopped thinking about it. That was the main thing. So I want you to also think about, has my horse stopped thinking about the hay too? Now, then, if I wanted the horse to eat, I'd lengthen the rope and then I'd lower its head a bit and say, and I'd put the rope on the ground and lower its head close to the grass and say, now you can have grass, because the rope's been, lengthened out now, and I've directed your thoughts to the grass so you can eat. And then when the eating was done, I picked up on the rope, shortened it to a certain length, and the horse said, oh, that rope there means I can't eat, because if I pull down 10 centimetres, I'm going to find that the rope's going to stop because that's the length of the rope. Horses are very clever, and like clever dogs, they all know the end of the rope, they know where it is, and they know if there's a boundary that is worth something or not at the end either. So what you've got to work out is the boundary at the end clear enough to say not available, and does your horse know the length of a rope through the leading that you've done with it? If you've sorted that out, then you can walk anywhere and your horse won't snatch.
Next question is from Lynn. She has a Pushy yearling. Now, she takes the horse out for a walk out on off the property, but she's finding that he's really stubborn once he's out. He doesn't want to come back. He gets quite pushy. He wants to stay out there, and that behaviour is getting quite problematic for her to manage. She has noticed that he's got good groundwork, he backs well, he's leading on both sides, he yields and turns well, stops and trots, but is prone to pushy dominant behaviour attempts. She's finding that he's curious but perhaps not scared of anything enough, and she's finding lunging difficult because he's not wanting to move forwards and away, and he can gently kick out a rear leg in response to a whip or a flag. So it's almost like he gets offended with the ask to move away. So in general, he doesn't like to be turned away, like perhaps you have a wheelbarrow in the yard to clean up. So she's just wondering what you might offer as a suggestion for her, please, Mark.
Put your emphasis on he's pushy, but he does his groundwork well. That in my mind doesn't make sense. A pushy horse doesn't do groundwork well. So when you do groundwork, he kicks out because groundwork is lunging and stuff like that. So he backs well, he backs up well, he does this well, he does that well, but he's pushy. So I dare say there's areas where he's pushy, which means I think the things that he's doing well, he could do even better if he wasn't pushy. Don't lunge him because he doesn't have enough education on him to lunge, okay? Lunging is not education. Lunging is something that you teach a horse that you've taught to lead well enough to go out on a lunge to do. If he's still pushy, if he doesn't understand boundaries and things like that, then his leading needs to be cleaned up. What I mean by leading is, can he lead behind you 3 meters and understand where your bubble is? If you just place the rope softly, can he stand with that rope? When you pick up on that rope, can he move softly with that rope? Can he stand with that rope? Can he move with that rope 1 step? Can he stand with it again? Can I walk up and then pull that rope and he jogs up softly, and then when I stop and put a sort of feel in that rope and still that rope again, will he stop with that rope? Maybe give him some very good leading guidelines and just stick to leading for a while, like doing lunging and sideways and backing. Backing's important. I'd say backing up is very important. So he has to be able to back up amazingly and go forward amazingly on that lead rope. There's things that I do, like lift the wither over and hindquarter yields on horses and stuff like that. But for him, he needs to know his responsibility in leading. Keep it a lot more simple, but do a little and expect a lot. Don't do a lot and expect a little. So when he comes forward to that lead, is it accurate to the millimetre? If you go forward with it a bit faster, can he jog up with it? All those things, that's so important. And if you suddenly stop and change directions, does he know it's his responsibility to yield a little bit and give you space so you can walk through? Or does he think, do I take your space or do you have to back me up? Okay. So basically, you've got to really think about those things. So get the leading really exceptional. And then when it's exceptional, just the basic leading, like I've just talked about, and your space, your personal 2 or 3 metre boundary that you've set, and he understands that, then you've got a horse you might be able to lead out 5, 10 metres, 100 metres away from home, and then bring him back home again. So basically get him leading exceptional, take him out 100 metres, or maybe only 50 metres, then bring him back again. And do that over and over until he realises this is just a centred leading lesson where you're going into new environments and then coming back. And then you'll go further and further. Don't worry about the lunging till his leading's exceptional, and then instead of having to push him out with a flag or a stick, you can lead him out onto a lunge opposed to push him out because his leading's working really well.
Now, the next question is from Christine from the States. She'd like to know where and how can she set boundaries for a mouthy horse without always saying no?
The only reason you're saying no all the time is because the horse didn't understand no. So no means no, and it's a bit like parenting. No, yes means, you're saying no all the time with a yes behind it. So
if I go to bite you and you go no, that's the wrong response.
no's okay. I can say no. So if Jenny goes to bite me and I say no, I have to say no in a way that she goes, he doesn't want to be bitten. I'm going to go and eat an ice cream instead.
And not try again.
Right. So no means don't sort of, So basically, here's an example. If a horse, I see this a lot, a horse pushes on a person, then the horse pushes the person back. So I push you, you push me. I push you, you push me. And then I stand with the horse and the horse goes to push me, and the horse might be standing at 1.5 meters away. It goes to think about pushing me. As it steps, I'll say, pushing's not available. And I do something once that might be a bit clearer. I'm not going at the horse. I'm not trying to attack it and hit it. But I just do something clear to say, pushing's not available. And it goes, oh, okay. Well, I'll stand quietly then. So, and the person just did something 5 or 6 times, and the horse still kept inkling like it was going to push. And I did something once, and then the horse stood quietly in a few seconds. It's because I said not available. And I think that's what we got to sort of think about when the horse goes to bite. If it's at a distance, well, say first of all, biting's not available if the horse is out about 2 meters away from you. So if the horse is 2 meters away, it can't bite because it can't reach you. So basically, thinking into my space too early is unavailable. And then basically from there, when the horse is soft, you think about maybe having an interaction, soft interactions, okay? So, I think that's, just be clear. You don't, as I said, you're only saying no because you didn't say no the first time.
What about why he's biting or being mouthy?
Yeah, we could do a whole subject on that. Why are they biting? Why are they mouthy? There's so many reasons. Mouthy horses that are just opened up, mouthy horses that are, opened up, they've been shut down. Mouthy horses that are just experimenting and exploring. Sometimes I've seen that you can let them mouth a little bit, but then you've got to be careful that they've worked their way in softly, not just I'm allowed to do it because I want to do it. So I'd still put boundaries on everything. Okay?
So it still comes back to boundaries and just being really clear, and then offering an alternative or getting that present mind anyway, at least.
I think people sometimes let a horse mouth because they want to keep its expressiveness in it, and that's fine. But doesn't matter if it was with another horse or with a human, there's always rules of engagement, okay? So, and I think that's where people get a little bit too grey, is there's no rules of engagement. Oh, that's good, my horse is starting to mouth a bit and it's always been shut down. And opening up a shutdown horse, you can open up Pandora's box. And I said to someone the other day, just because you're opening up a horse doesn't mean you open it up without guidance. You have to open it up with guidance, so by the time your horse is open, it's soft, instead of opening up and it's going, wow, I'm in this world of stress and chaos and I don't know where I am. So you can open horses up with guidance, and as I say, it all comes down to rules of engagement. They're still allowed to engage, they're still allowed to think, they're still allowed to process their environment. There's just boundaries and rules to that, same as they have in a herd, they have with us, and they're okay with that. Actually, they're more comfortable with that, with having no rules of engagement.
Okay, well, I hope that helps for you, Christine. Thanks so much for your answers, Mark, and thanks for the questions that have come through. We'll be back next week with more horse training related answers for you. See you then.
Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, everybody.
If you'd like to ask Mark your question and get his insights to help you and your horse, it's easy to join Mark Langley online. Head over to marklangley.com.au and hit join. It's less than a couple of coffees, and the Q&A is just a piece of a whole package designed to support you and your horse with great training.